When I was a full-time illustrator, I basically painted every day. I would get downstairs in the morning around 8 o'clock. I'd work until dinner time, 6 o'clock, and I do that every day except for weekends. Painting became very automatic. It just was a part of my life. It was a habit that I basically had built up of daily painting. Currently, I'm working on a game design. It's a whole new thing for me. It has some graphic design work involved, but it's not painting. It's not really drawing. And I'm loving doing it. I'm really loving doing it. It's very new for me and very exciting. But what it means is that there are chunks of time now where I'm not painting regularly, certainly not painting daily. So what I want to have that regular daily practice back again. I really need it. I find that my work suffers when I don't have that. I've always kept a sketchbook. I do drawings. I carry it around with me when I go to restaurants or out with friends, or certainly when I'm traveling. I sketch all the time. I bring along a small watercolor book. I've been doing watercolor. But those aren't a substitute for a daily practice of painting, I find. So what I've started to do is paint every morning for at least an hour before I do anything else. And I'm trying not to paint really with any very strongly defined end in view. The other day I painted a landscape. This morning I've started working on a figure painting. And with no kind of idea of where that was going to go beyond, I'd like to someday have a group of paintings of Santa Fe. So I have a lot of photos. So I started working from one of my Santa Fe photographs. The figure painting, I'm trying an approach of very close value relationships so that it's not super high contrast, it's very low contrast. Just that kind of thing. So I'm playing with questions. I'm taking a posture toward each painting, but the paintings aren't like, oh, I'm going to do a bunch of paintings and do a book of it. That kind of thing. The other thing that happened was I was going through cleaning out my studio, and I found a bunch of old paintings. And among them were two covers that I had done for Interview with a Vampire. That was a project I worked on in the early 90s. It was an adaptation of Anne Rice's Interview with a Vampire books. And I had some of those, the paintings that I had used for covers lying around. And they were fascinating. I had sort of forgotten this, but one of the paintings, it was a painting of a skull on fire in this very elaborate frame. And what I had done was I had a ceramic skull that I had sculpted in college. It's funny. I had done the assignment was do a tea set. So my tea set was a bunch of hollow skulls of vampires that you could drink out of the nose. Anyway, I still had one of these back then in '93, I guess it was. And I set it on fire in the backyard, and I took a picture of it, and then had that picture enlarged, and then painted on the picture and used colored pencil, and then around it I made this frame of metal, rusty old metal that I found in this scrapyard here in Pittsburgh. The other painting was another Interview with a Vampire cover, in which there's sandpaper, there's paper towel, there's I wired a rock to the painting. It's just sitting there wired on. And what it made me think was how free I was when I was younger, how unafraid to just do anything and be kind of like my idea of how to make an image was very open-ended. It was not at all constrained like, oh, this is how I make images, or this is how I paint. I mean, painting for me was very exciting, pushing frontiers and boundaries and materials and all kinds of stuff. As I gained more mastery with paint, all of that other stuff kind of went aside, and I really just focused on painting. I lost that explorer quality, that boundary pushing quality. And now when I'm moving and I'm trying other things, I find that I'm more fearful of pushing boundaries than I used to be. So I'm actually putting these paintings up in my studio because they're telling me something. They're telling me, don't be so afraid. Like when you were younger, you would do anything to make an image look interesting. And they did look interesting. I mean, I really like both of those pieces, and I like also what they say about the artistic endeavor, that there really are no boundaries. So something that I want to focus on going forward is regular practice and not being fearful of the exploration. Remembering that I wasn't always limited in how I approached making images, and that those were actually successful creations, and that I can do more of that. I have permission to do that.